Oh, yeah.
Hanging up the phone, right?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, we got it figured out, girl.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, it's Saturday morning. Thanks for persistence, right? Which is what's required in hemp. We
Well,
tried this yesterday. We tried this last week. We couldn't get it, but we kept at it.
well, you got your numbers up, so maybe that's good too.
Yeah, subscribers over 50 on YouTube live. Well, yeah, so we were trying to go direct through live, but this I think gives us more through StreamYard, maybe a little bit more. I mean, we could invite other people. I think you can do an intro, exit, stuff like that. So we can
Okay.
polish it up, I
So
guess.
do we want to do anything this morning? Do you want to ask some questions or talk about
I
stuff?
think so. If you have a few minutes, I
Sure.
know it's the weekend. You've got Anna there, but if you could give an update on your USDA hemp production research plots, I think it'd be a great time in the season to hear about that.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what. Of course, today it's really hot and windy out here. I took a few videos yesterday, and we're just kind of cleaning those up today. I think our hemp is just awesome. Now, of course, what we've done in the hemp business is we're looking at varieties. Also, the things that we're doing is checking for males and females on the grains, and then we're also looking at the possibilities of extra nitrogen. All
Mm.
that looks really good. There's a little more males in the grains than we would like to see, but anyway, that's we'll see how that all turns out. But the grain looks excellent. We've done some side applications with some big yield products. John has come up with a recipe, him and Derek Fox, so that we planted on this. And it's a little bit similar to what we did last year on where we got the big tonnage. Again, we didn't have the results we wanted with the grain, but we sure got the results with the fiber side. So the fiber looks even better than it did this year. So we went out and looked at fiber yesterday. We looked at all the crops yesterday. We've got a kind of a demo out at the USDA research plot so people can drive in. They got the map. We got the QR codes. We're updating all the QR codes so you can see what's going on, how to grow the product. We show it from the time we plant it till the time we harvest it later. But right now it's pretty exciting. The hemp restoration sticks. They're huge. Now we think because we did push the population down, Sarah, to 350,000 plants, and that population looks awesome. And we got 750,000 plants, and then on the grains, I'm going to say the grains are we didn't do a population study on the grain. We just kind of tried to get it all up to somewhere around 30 pounds, 32 pounds is what we ended up on the grains. And so that's kind of the numbers that we'll do our SOPs on, and kind of the what we end up with is the ROI, what we actually get the stuff sold for.
Mm-hmm.
So right now the plots look better than they did last year by far, and they're growing over. I'm going to say the fiber side is probably at least 8 feet tall right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll send you a
Awesome.
little. I'll send you just a little bit of what we did yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and then your plot. I didn't measure your plot. I got a stick out there where your seed is. Your seed
Mm-hmm.
looks awesome too. Actually, your seed looks it's very competitive in size and looks as anything that we got from the other company.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks really good. Now, whether you want to take seed off of it or what you want to do with it, it's separate from the USDA plot. So we've got some USDA stuff, and then we've got the rest of it is just our own grower contract of growing hemp.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as far as an update, it's just awesome, and we're hoping to push our field day this year. We're going to push it back later into the year. I don't know whether it be October, November, December, whatever. So we're going to try to harvest this stuff in the field. What we did last year, as far
Silent
as
shop.
far as the fiber.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what we're thinking with the fiber side. what we would do. We don't know yet how we're going to get all of this grain it's awesome too. I mean, I'm going to say right now it's well over. Well, it's not quite as tall as the fiber, but I'm going to say it's at least 7 feet right now.
Yeah, we've had good moisture, moderate temperatures so far this season. And I guess I want anybody that's hearing this to realize this is an invitation to come out to your USDA hemp research plots where you've done nitrogen studies, planting density studies, and take a self-guided tour. There are QR codes that people can scan. They can see the research notes that you've been taking throughout the season. And that's I don't know anywhere else in the country that you can show up in Garden City, Missouri at Little Piece of Heaven, Highway T and 7.
And yep, that's
take
it.
a self-guided tour on your own time and really see in action the results of planting density studies, nitrogen application studies, as well as, like you said, the other contracted growing areas there. So I just appreciate you putting that together, opening it up. And of course, your field days are always awesome. And I had a farmer asking me yesterday, is Bill going to have a field day? And I said, yes, it's going to be a little bit later in the year. I know you've got big surgery coming up. So we're going to
that's actually Monday, but we're going to fly through that. Pretty quickly.
Be back in those fields, back in your tractor in no time.
So that's what we're thinking. But just kind of go along what you say. Now, if somebody wants a personal tour, that we can make that happen. We have a couple of we have a agronomist here that we work with. We nicknamed him Dr. Dirt, and then we also Daphne is available, part-time on schedule. And then whenever I get back in the swing of things, I'm hopefully 30 days will get me back rocking and rolling. But then in August and September, I should be back where I can do, I can be out there in the field and show people things and stuff. So we're pretty excited about the plot today.
Just where it is right now.
Yeah. And again, what you just said is absolutely true. You just drive in. We actually have a product out there. We have the grain and we have packages of grain. And of course, we have a little bit of a chicken program. And then we show all the different uses, and we have the flooring and the hemp concrete, and of course the remediation sticks those are so exciting. And we visited with one of the universities about partnering with us on how to mine the stuff out underneath the ground. So whatever it is in the soil below the ground, and it doesn't have to be just heavy metals. That's a negative thing. There's some other things down there that we think will turn into value. So that's the big thing this year. We're trying to figure out how we take that value out. We're under the impression we're going to have to burn it, but and then collect the char. And so there's a whole bunch of things that char can be used for. And again, we're doing some heavy metal studies. So we went and core drilled real deep to try to find out the metals that are down there. And then each plot has its own soil test. So out through I think we've got like 20, probably close to 30 different plots that have their own testing. And then our backup plan is when we get all said and done, we want to go back and see what this crop pulled out of the ground. And of course, our ultimate goal is to create or find more value below the Earth's surface, and maybe be able to mine those metals with plants. And that's kind of maybe just a little bit out there, but somebody has to come up with a way to utilize the metals that we actually extract. And if we can figure out how to do that through the remediation sticks, so to speak. But these things are big. I'd say they're, I don't know, probably all little over an inch around, or an inch across. So the sticks are really, and it would be very hard for a farmer to harvest that with a mower or a hay conditioner. I mean, they're going to be big and very, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big thing that we're going to have to figure out, Sarah.
Well, and to me, it sounds like so much of what's going on in hemp is just like me, you've been doing this since 2019, and it's taken us quite a good chunk of time to get good at growing it, to understand what to grow, how to harvest it, why we would want to grow a grain crop or a fiber crop or a CBD crop on the very front end. Then we're getting good at growing it. We understand a little bit how to process it. And now what's the next level? And so a little bit out there is where we all need to go. And we need other people that haven't even been growing it to come in and think of out of the box ideas to use the fiber and the grain, put it in our industrial supply chains, our food supply chains, our feed supply chains, and create valuable products out of what we have learned to grow. So I think we have to keep our feet in the on the soil, right? And we're there, we're growing the crop, but we have to keep these bigger ideas in our head about where is this going to go? What problems could this crop solve? And that list is almost endless. So when you find something like the phytoremediation, I sent you that article earlier in the week. I think it was Belgium doing a big phytoremediation project with him. This is happening in other parts of the world. It is novel and it's new, but it has also been done by Chernobyl, for example. Mm-hmm. So I admire that you're bringing it to the middle of the country. I think there's tons of value, and we're having to do the research and the R&D and the painstaking processes of learning the outcomes of something we can only grow one time a year outside. And so you don't get very many chances to get it right. And then to learn a little bit incrementally each year, we're getting better at it. And then we have grand ideas for how this plant is going to serve industry. So I commend you for getting all the steps.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, but I have a passion for this crop because I really believe in it. And I believe that the cannabis plant offers so much things for us as human beings, and mm-hmm. and from a health standpoint, and from just how to clean up our environment. So those things are just, I have a little bit of a passion for that. But I guess the one thing that I wish that I could instill, and there's not enough people really interested in yet, but it's just like we don't have enough varieties on the grain side to really do what we did in the soybean industry and the corn industry. Try to pick varieties that best fit environmental situations. So, mm-hmm. I've got one or two varieties this year, and honestly, they're not necessarily, we got to figure out how to work with them instead of them working with us. So instead of the varieties fitting the farmer's trying to figure out how to fit the varieties. And that's just a very difficult challenge. Mm-hmm. So we need people with varieties that will test them, that'll get involved with them. And we just don't have that support from anybody yet. Nobody wants necessarily their product out there because they don't know whether it looks bad or not. And mm-hmm. when we dealt with the universities, their motivation, it was totally different than our motivation. They wasn't interested in a SOP, how to do it, and with what crop, and an ROI, what's the return, and how we compete with corn and soybeans or any other crop that our farmers would be planting on their farm. And mm-hmm. and so those are the challenges that we have still, is to educate the educators or let them understand, if I'm a farmer, 10 years down the road is not a big deal for me. I got to figure out how to survive next year or the year after. Mm-hmm. So what can I do in the hemp industry that's going to make me a profit, mm-hmm. or partner with somebody that wants to be in the hemp industry that I can be a supplier for? So those are the connections that still are skewed. Mm-hmm. And, they're kind of like a parentheses on both sides. We don't have the beginning or the end totally figured out. We're kind of working from the middle out.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a good way to put it. I feel that, a lot of the university research is very foundational. But it, like you're saying, has to pencil out on the farm. The crop has to compete with traditional commodities. It's lacking a lot of the policy support at this time to get there externally. So on its own, how can it make 800, 900, $1,000 an acre so that a farmer is interested in putting in the work and taking the risk and giving it a try? Those things haven't quite been figured out. And I don't think that's, the universities, you're in a perfect position to conduct that research, I guess I'd say. And maybe if you could spend just a minute saying about your history in agriculture. You're a farmer, you're a grain elevator at Nico Seed and Big Yield Ag. And, how does that experience inform the way that you see this crop developing? And I think it helps the patience that you're willing to lend to it, because it takes a minute, but the potential is there. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if you could say a little bit.
No, all of those things. And I'll be more than glad to share that real quickly. I don't want to bore people, but honestly, we started out in the seed industry. And if I could claim a title that I would really love to be and stay, would be a seedsman. And somebody that believed in genetics and believed in seed and believed in all those things. But I got started years ago, and I actually got started with Pioneer, the old Garston Thomas company. And we got started raising seed corn. And then we went into the soybeans. And we were there when Roman Haas first tried to come out with hybrid wheat. And so we've been involved in the seed industry for so long, and on the research side. So I've always seen the research that would be applicable. And if you look at corn and soybeans, we've really bumped the genetics on those, and they've been really good for the farmers. Wheat's been a little more challenging, but all of these crops basically start back with the seed that fits the environment that's being planted on. And so I took that course a long time, and actually I spent some time with some folks down at MU. And early on, we had some big visions. We talked about maybe at some point, and I believe this could happen with hemp and other crops, but where we would actually consume our health. So instead of taking all the opioids and all the other things, you kind of design your food source as you consume it. So we got in some real wild ideas on how to graze a crop, and actually that crop would be also our medicine. So those were crazy things that we kind of done. But as my career went on, I actually worked. Actually, one of my son-in-laws worked at Foundation Seeds. I was on the Foundation Seed Board. I was on the Seed Improvement Board. I was very vested in the seed industry for so many years, and then I got working with a couple of people in the soybean side, and they were very creative in their thinking and their ideas. And so we got really invested in that soybean and the Ohio Lake came along. And so there were some breeders, and we were competing against the Monsantos and the Pioneers for Ohio Lake. But we were looking at it as a low cost way that a farmer could do it, and through a university breeding program. So, I ended up about 4 years, mostly in quality control. I actually traveled 4 continents and really got an education on how that genetics works and flowed as far as environmentally across the United States, because the same thing would happen, in Brazil and Argentina, only it's just on the other side of the border. So I really got a good education after I kind of retired from our major business here, and my children took over, and I've been out of that now, about 18 years.
Wow.
And so I fell in love with the concept of what hemp could do. And that started right after the Farm Bill in 2018. So 2018 come along, and I'm going like, wow, what a crop. So we started doing studies on that. And then by 2019, we were planting hemp. And we started out with the CBD stuff because that was going to be, all the farmers could make lots of money, which that was a joke. And then we ventured into some of the other crops, and the seed and the genetics was always the problem. And then we finally, in the last few years, have struggled into learning about genetics that will actually work, here in the Midwest. But this same thing fits all through the country. And if you look at the hemp plant, you know, you've got the European and you've got the Asian and you've got the stuff coming from all around the world. Everybody has a better seed genetic supply than we do because we've been out of the market for so many years, and
Yeah.
and we're not going to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to adapt to some of the education that comes on from places like Israel and Afghanistan and China and Europe, Canada. So all of those varieties have got to get kind of worked through, and we really have to just kind of test them to see what we can do. So real quick and dirty, you know, right now I think I'm on my last time at bat here in agriculture. I'm getting ready to turn 80 years old, so that's I have a 10-year plan, but most of it is working with young people and people like yourselves to try to make a difference. And if that works, why, you know, my technician is positioning me better here, so maybe you can see me better now, can you?
I can see you good either way.
All right. So anyway, that's kind of my quick and dirty story. But I've been a lifelong agricultural supporter. I love agriculture. I love farmers. I love the way of life. I love their risk taking, their entrepreneurship. They're just a tremendous breed of people, and I would like to see as many of those folks successful as possible.
Yeah, you know that giving them this rotation crop option is helpful to keeping a lot of farms going, and they cannot be taking all these risks on the front end. We're trying to mitigate some of that and get it to a point where they can feel as comfortable as they do with traditional row crops as growing hemp and get out there and make it happen. I think another great thing that's happening is the changes to some regulatory policy on the end use markets where you can feed hemp seed meal to laying hens now. That's something we're working on. There's going to be another application from the Hemp Feed Coalition to feed hemp seed meal to ruminants. And I think the AFCO approval process is actually moving over to K-State, which I'm excited about. So that should speed up ingredient approvals in the future. To me, that's just the biggest area of opportunity. Hemp seed meal is high in protein, fiber, iron, copper, manganese. The whole seed contains all the 9 essential amino acids that the human body needs. There's so much potential for hemp grain in food and feed. And maybe we end on, how do you see that market developing? What can we do today to convince, I think it was 5,000 acres of hemp grain in the whole country last year, right? So what's anybody going to do with that? How are we going to get from 5,000 acres of grain in the whole country to the amount of grain that we would need to be a serious player in the food and feed industry?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. I really don't think it's that hard. The two things that's got to happen: number one, your buyers have to be sold on this as a good quality product, and they will buy the grain. Okay, I think that's an easy sell, and that's why we've been working with Majestic Milling down at Cassville. Mark and his group there with Leroy. We did a little video with Leroy Creekmore, and they're working with the little small chickens and a lot of the research with the chicken side. So I think whenever our buyer says, okay, I want to start buying hemp grain. Now, there's big markets that we've been told a lot of stories. I think the storytelling in the hemp industry is the most prolific that I've ever heard in my life, because every day there's a new great story about all the good things we can do. But it all starts with the farmer has to grow it and make a profit. So the varieties have got to develop where you can actually get those varieties developed, and then they can grow enough yield that the buyer will buy. So it's just a bookend thing. You got the buyer and you got the grower, and I think soon as that thing clicks together, but you're going to have some support. And if you had support with USDA or the government or you can get crop insurance. I mean, there's a jillion things that will make this hemp industry pop. But we got to quit. We got to quit goofing around with it and get serious. And people in high places, if Uncle Sam doesn't want to do it, and he's getting too much, all your politicians are getting too much money from the corn growers, and they're getting too much money from the soybean producers, and none of them wants this crop to actually flourish. It's not going to work because you've got politics involved in it. And when politics get involved in it, then it's a money game, and then they tell the story they want to tell. But we got some commodity things, right? Just like these commodity subsidies that farmers are giving, these checkoff dollars. And I don't mean that's a total joke, because once upon a time, they actually did some things that was real beneficial for farmers. But now, if they go out there and they get checkoff dollars and they buy tickets to football games and they take trips to Waka Waka Wooka Waka. And so they're really not doing the things they really need to support, a new commodity. And then, of course, the question is, why should they? I mean, they're doing great. They get millions of dollars from the farmers as a tax. And we can't do that as a commodity. And we don't have a big sugar daddy. The government, and the politicians, are they going to help the industry? I don't know. They have to have it out of their heart. It can't be out of their pocketbook, because we can't outspend the big commodities. Yeah. So, I mean, I got on my soapbox just a little bit, but I apologize for that for anybody that's listening to me. But I've lived through all those things and stuff, and they pick winners and losers, and right now the hemp industry hasn't been picked yet.
Yeah. I think it competes on the merit of the crop. And I know nationwide there's a big rift right now with all the hemp cannabinoid dry products. And is that putting a damper on the development of the grain and fiber side? Because the politicians and even regulators, you find are often very confused about what the crop is, what they're looking for when they come out. And getting them to understand this is just a grain and fiber crop. This is a bale of hemp that looks like a bale of hay. This is a seed just like any other. I don't have any cannabinoid material in our processing facility. The plant produces negligible amounts. It just should be treated like wheat and corn and soybeans. They maybe could understand that, but then there's all these other products, cannabinoid dominant products, that are saying they're hemp, they're farm bill approved. And so they pull back, and they put their guard back up, because for 30, 40 years, people have been saying hemp won't get you high. Hemp is ropes, hemp is high protein food. And now we have this whole class of products that are designed, to be intoxicating. So I hope that the government and the policymakers can apply a delicate approach. That is obviously a viable market. It does come from hemp-based plants, but they're just different. So I know National NHIC, I think, is working on a carve-out, a grain and fiber carve-out. So maybe we could become more distinct that way. I don't know. I spent many years in Kansas trying to get the Kansas regulations going where I thought they should go, and working with Kansas growers. I think we have gone to USDA. Missouri has gone to USDA. There's about 15 states being regulated by USDA now as producers, and that is helping to normalize the crop. You still have a license fee, but it's 3 years long, and it's only the cost of your background check, compared to what we were paying in Kansas was $1,500 every single year, background check every single year. So some of those little things are going in the right direction, but still slow. And I think you said it perfectly. Hemp hasn't been picked yet to win as far as what government policy is going to support. And we really do need people to continue to help us understand. That's exactly why we're on here today. Just more education. It feels like all we do is talk, but more education is so needed for the average consumer, for feed buyers, for regulators, legislators. I mean, the average Joe. So we appreciate people letting us chat. Thanks for tuning in. And
I would like to say one thing.
You bet.
And you did bring out a really good point. But I will tell you that since we've been starting working with the USDA and those folks, they are absolutely the best people that I've ever worked with. They
Mhm.
are the grassroots USDA people that we work with. When we rolled out of Missouri and USDA took over, just the ability to do things, their help, as long as we're providing the data and follow the rules. I'm just saying they have been remarkable people to work with. So I don't want to come off real negative with everything, because I think just what you said, I will amen, because we do have some progress. And if we could get, you know, I don't know if this is funny or not, but 40 years ago, I'm at a political place and I have a speaker, and this guy gets up and he says he's a what is it? They're not politicians. They're well, anyway, what do we call people that are retired? They live in the political world, but they're not elected. Those are
Lobbyist.
no. Oh my God, no. Those are just people that actually now I'm losing my train of thought here
Oh, sorry.
of what they call. But anyway, he got up and said, we're the people you hire to protect you against the people you elect. And I thought it was funny at the time, but the more that I've seen some of the people that we elect, the more I realize some of the people that are hired to keep those people under control is probably not a really bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, you want them to understand what we're doing, because we are working so hard to make it go. And the potential is there. I think the need for a high protein grain, a biofuel, bioplastics, biomaterials at every level is so high. And hemp is ready to meet these needs and meet this moment. And if we can't get that much help, if we could just get the barriers out of the way, it still feels like we're in barrier removal time. We're not in here's some help time, and that's okay. That's okay.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for inviting me on your live podcast, and I enjoy what you're doing in Kansas, and you would be one of the people in the industry that I have high regards for, and all the efforts that you put in with your company and the relationships that you brought to the table. That's been showing up here at what we call this Ag City.
I love it.
Piece of heaven at Junction T and 7. So anyway, thank you for letting me be with you today and share some thoughts, and I hope they've been helpful.
Very helpful, and it's been an honor to work with you over the past 3 seasons, and we've grown hemp, and we've held field days, and we've harvested, and we've tried to develop products. Maybe we'll come on back again and talk about products. I know you're working on something fun up your sleeve, I'll just say, with the
Absolutely.
hemp.
Yeah. We got some exciting things coming by the end of the year.
All right. Well, you guys have a great weekend. I wish you very well as you recover, and I appreciate you taking time on Saturday morning.
You're very welcome. God bless you.
God bless you. Take care. Bye, Anna.
Bye.
You can't. I couldn't figure out what.
No, I know.
That's okay.
Do we leave?
Yeah.